Hi everybody, Jeff Garage Maker Guy here. It's been a while since I put anything up. Today I'm just going to go over, I've had a lot of people purchase the 3D printed parts for the lights, and I've had some questions, so I really need to put together a couple of tutorials. So that's what I'm going to do today. So one of the questions that I've had is, what angle do you bend the tubing at? How long do you make the tubes, and all of that stuff? So it's really however you want to do it, but here's the method to my madness that I use to determine the length of the tube and the angle that I bent it. If you look at the lights, I try to keep the light so it's perpendicular or level with the table, so, or as close, you know, pretty close. So the main thing is that I want the light to go on the track and not into driver's eyes. So for this angle here, you know, you kind of want it level. This one's, you know, obviously, you know, it's tilted up a little bit, but you want it kind of level with the track. And how long do you cut the tube? I'm trying to get the light so it's centered over the center line of the track, you know, kind of like that. I know this is a horrible video, but I think you get the idea. Trying to make the light land there. And as far as the length goes, the tubing that I have here, I've cut into 10-inch lengths. And the way that I got that length is, in order for this light to be here over the center, I come up, I think I do about 8 inches, and then I make my bend, and then the length of the USB housing, and then where the light is, that ends up being pretty close. And one of the questions I had was, are they all the same angles? Absolutely not. In my case, because this turn here starts from level ground and gradually, you know, it does this bank turn thing, but then it also goes up in elevation to meet the overpass. And if you look at the angle of these tubes as we get higher up and the track starts to flatten out, the bend gets, you know, closer to basically 90 degrees by the time we're out of this turn, because now we're going into a straight. So the bends are different. They gradually increase, getting closer to 90 as the track gets flatter. So if you were to put it on a flat, you know, I would recommend bending it at 90 degrees, and that way the light is level with the table. And if you have these borders, that's why I have to use such a long piece of tubing, because to get it to reach over to the center line, that's what it takes. If you don't have the borders, of course, you can cut the tube much shorter, and then you'll get more lengths of tube out of the 36-inch lengths and all that funky mathematics that you have to do when you're cutting stuff. So it's not terribly difficult. That's my method, because I hate staring at light bulbs when they're on, and I wanted the light on the track. And you can kind of see how, you know, it's not perfect, but they're pretty much level with the table. And that's why I did what I did. Hopefully that helps, and let's get on to the next step as far as assembling the light and all that good stuff. Okay, so these were the original color parts. These are the support blocks. This is like the whole foundation of this lighting catch fence guardrail system that I came up with. And these were the prototypes, and they were like neon green. And I initially just said, oh, I'll just paint them because I don't know if we can actually see the layer lines, but that's just a byproduct of 3D printing. So I ended up painting them, which was, they came out really nice, but it was an extra step, and it required, several coats to actually, get the layer lines gone. And I'm not looking for perfect. And then Prusa, the company I have bought my printer from, they came out with an urban gray color. So I can skip the paint. So you can tell, here's the painted one here and the urban gray one there, and they're very similar. So we can skip the painting. And so if you do order these from me right now, while I'm still printing them myself, because I think the companies that I've looked at, they want way too much money. I am currently working with another company to actually have them injection molded, so I can keep the cost down and potentially lower the cost even more. But that's another story. So right now I print all of them in the Prusa Prusament, which is their filament, and it's urban gray color, and it is PETG, which is the plastic that all your water bottles are made out of, and it's recyclable and all that happy crap. So the other thing here is I do test fit every piece. However, there is some post-processing that I do on these pieces to make sure that they fit. The key thing is the edges of the part that sticks into the track. There is a pretty wide tolerance on that opening depending on what pieces of Carrera track you're using. I noticed that the bank turns tend to be a little bit looser than the non-banked pieces of track. So what I do, this is just a deburring tool. You don't need to use this, but I just go over the edges, just take a little bit off, just so it fits snugly, but not too tight, where you could actually break your track. You don't want to do that. So you just kind of peel it back a little bit, just so this edge here is rounded a little bit, and that the locking tab goes all the way in and connects. Like I said, I test fit every piece. I do the initial stuff, but you may need to do a little bit. If it fits tight, don't force it. Just clean it up a little bit, and then it'll fit and lock in. And that's pretty much it for the support blocks. And all right, so let's set it up, and basically we're going to do turns 3 and 4, the other big bank turn, where I pulled off the 22 support blocks, and we're going to install all the urban gray ones. See you at the track. Okay, it's pretty simple. So here's the part that we just trimmed up, and we just take it in here and it clicks in, won't pull out, and basically rinse and repeat that process until we go all the way around the turn. And I will try not to bore you with that. So after I put those in place, I'll be back to show you the guardrail piece. Okay, so I've only got a couple more left. I'll just click all these guys in. And so the 22 support blocks in turns 3 and 4 are in place, and now we're ready to put the guardrail wire in. Now, as I've said before, all it is this, I used 1/8 inch steel rod. You could use, some people were concerned about damaging the car's paint and whatever. Me, I'm like, hey, if you're hitting the rail, then your car should get damaged anyway. But that's just me. But you could use the 3D printing filament, which is just basically plastic wire, and you can run that through there. You can also, for the catch fence, you could just use a plastic screen. I like the way the metal looks, so that's what I went with. Okay. So these wires I had already pre-cut because I've had them up here for quite a while. So once you do that, you do want to kind of keep track of where you pull them out from. But normally you're just going to cut them as you install them, and then you're going to leave them alone. So if you're going to do using these 1/8" wires that I got, basically just, I think I said it in the first video about the lights, where when you cut them, you just want to make sure that they join inside, they're centered inside there, and that's pretty much it. So I think we have 2 more, and we're about done. So awesome. Anyway, that's what it looks like when it's all the wire is in. So we now have all of our support blocks in place, and we have a guardrail in turns 3 and 4. So now something that I've done over time, if I'm moving the track and I work on the track a lot, you can see here how the ends, they come out, and what I've done to mitigate that, and when I'm absolutely finished with the working on the track, I will go back and do what I did here, because this actually came out pretty cool. So what I did here is I just threaded that. Those are M4 by 6, just cheap little Allen screws, and I just used a tap and tapped the holes and screwed those in, and that keeps the wires from moving around. So anyway, we now have no lime green support blocks. We have all the urban gray support blocks. Our guardrail's done, and the next step is to get our light posts in place. Now, you do need to put a support block in every slot that you're going to be putting the guardrail or the catch fence or all of the above, but you don't need to put a light in every spot. Like here, I skip, right? Because you don't need that much light. This is more than enough. And so I skip what, try to get this in view here. So you can see there's a light here, and there's a light there, but there's 1, 2, 3 spots that I don't have a light. Now I do have to put a post up here because I need an anchor point for the catch fence, but I don't need another light there. So it's something to consider when you're doing all the wiring or you're ordering the parts. That's and it also looks more natural, because if I put a light on every spot, this place would be blinding and all of that crap. Anyway, let's get back to this and get some posts in place, and then I will go and show how I did the wiring and all of that stuff. Hi everybody, just gonna provide you guys with an option to cutting this aluminum tubing with a pipe cutter, or the little tubing cutter. You can do that. You can do it that way, but it's much faster to use a chop saw with a real fine blade. This is like it's 100+ teeth, ultra fine, and aluminum is okay. I wouldn't try to cut steel or anything like that with it, because it is a wood blade, but it will do aluminum. So you set your stop block to whatever length you want the tubing so they all come out the same length, and just go to town. A lot faster than using a tubing cutter. Okay, so after you cut them with the chop saw, you need to kind of bevel the ends a little bit, remove the sharp edge. Doesn't take much. And then to take care of the inside, you just want to use, this is a deburring tool. You can use like a countersink drill bit and just twist it by hand. You just want to, you know, try to get rid of any really sharp pieces of aluminum that may be sticking out there. You don't want to cut the wiring for the light. Okay, so had another question about where I made my bends. So I went over that a little bit about, you know, it really depends on whether you have borders or not, and you know how you want it to be. But what I did on mine, I believe it was, so I started my bend at 6 inches. So that was pretty much it. Go ahead and see if we can try not to mess this up. So there, right about there is where I want to start it. So we get it into our 0 point there, I think is where we want it to go. And then we bring this guy. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so let's get our mark back. So you can see the mark, and then we're just going to kind of start the bend. You want to make sure that tube doesn't twist on you while you're checking. I think I went to right about there, like 55 degrees. That's pretty close. Close enough anyway. So we can see how off I am. Yeah, a little bit, but we can always bend it a little bit more, but it's good enough for now. And so that's about it. So again, my start point for my bend was about 6 inches. Okay, so we have the aluminum tubing for the lights in place, and this is an R3 turn, so I've got them spaced only one in between them because the distance between the support blocks is a lot farther away in this turn than it is in the R4, as you can see. So had to go through and, you know, tweak all the bends. So I'm trying to get a good view here, but they're as close to level with the table as I need them to be, but that's kind of what I shoot for. And I will have to put in a post in here in all of the blanks. They're not going to get a light, but I will need that so when I install the catch fence that it actually bends around the turn instead of going from here to here, and it would look like a big octagon, and that would look like crap. So that's about it. I think we're done with the aluminum tube bending portion and cutting and all of that. So next step is assembling the lights and testing them, and then we'll get them installed.